we will fastly go through all of it with the second brace, and it's not the it's all of the things that I have said. What's called the header, main, and the site in the examples of the real w3schools.com websites example. So the first thing that we should mention here, that all of the things that go to the top and the main information about the site, logos and the navigation bar go to header. And the next thing is the navigation bar. As you can see that here is the HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and all of the menus that we have go to the navbar. And the next thing is the aside elements. Aside elements can give us through how to say extra navigation through our site, or it can include itself extra some kind of information about the site. For on the left examples, there's the navigation. On the right side, it's only the advertisement of the color picker plugin, I think, of the web W3 schools. And the next thing is the main part. Main part, all of the main information that we went from the navigation on the left or on the top go to the main, and some kind of sections, for example, article section is divided by another section element, and article itself will go to the article tag. Why it's called the last thing is the footer. As I have mentioned, it there can be some kind of also extra information, navigation, or contexts. In some kind of sites, there will be calendar, and also the some kind of copyright elements with the partners logo and the links, and all of them call it global because, as you can see, we have divided off all of our elements fastly, and it includes the main main part of our sites. That's why it's called global. So the next thing is the local semantic elements. As I have used it before, that we have used the span element and also P. I mean the paragraph element, and all of the text can be written in that kind of text. But in P tag, in P tag we will write some bigger text. In span elements, if we want to highlight some smaller elements, it will become more semantically true because the logic of our browser and the internet and the HTML itself. So because of that, it includes some kind of little small information. It's called the local elements. So we have learned about the headings. There are 6 types of that elements. That the biggest one will become the H1, and the smallest one will become the H6. And the next thing, that the Q or the block quote element. Why we are using this kind of also small local semantic elements, because as I have mentioned in the first previous lesson, that from the accessibility side, the voice assistant on our browser will highlight the information in this kind of semantically true and the right elements with some kind of another voice. I mentioned that if we have the some p tag, and in p tag, if we have some bold and italic text, it will read in another way. Our voice assistant, it will become more accessible to people who cannot see and use only the voice assistant to go through all of our page. So the element that I have mentioned here, the block quote element. In block quote element, you can write all of the quotes, some kind of states, and for example, sayings of some celebrities or the scientists, philosophers. When our voice assistant reads this kind of text, it will also say that it's some kind of quote. If we also add some kind of after of this quote, it will say it in the end. So here's the time. Here's the time tag for our element, for our web page. As I have said, it also helps the accessibility side and the search engine optimization and all the things that I have mentioned before also. If we write the B tag, our text will become more bolder. If we use I tag, it will become as italic, with some rotation to the right side. And also here's the strong and the strong EM code del examples. If strong and the bold are the same visually, but strong is more preferable when you are focusing on the accessibility. And also EM and I are the same. As I have said, that the right side codes are more preferable. So if we write TT or the code, it will become our text will become monospace and will become more easy to understand in for search engine robots, and also for reading our code and the visual content of our site. And the last thing is the del and the s element. If you use this kind of elements, it can highlight our text by crossing the straight line above our text. The next thing that I should to mention is the lists. In last lesson, we learned about the unordered and the ordered lists. And in unordered lists, there will become the bullet points for each list item elements. In ordered lists, there will appear the numbers on the left side of our list elements. Also, you didn't have write these numbers and ciphers. So there is also definition lists, but elements on the top are mostly used. I think I have used it only one time, DL, and DT, and I think you can learn about it more on W3 Schools or the Mozilla Developer Network yourself. And here's the thing about the real cases. So we have separated W3 Schools example, and now about the we can go and continue with the EPAM's website, official website, and we can divide it everything to the global and the local elements. For example, All of these top elements can go to the header. This navigation links go to the nav elements. This is the image tag, and this big text will become our first heading element, h1, and so on. So I think you can go through the slides yourself, because we should go and continue with CSS3 properties and what kind of new features does it have. So firstly, we should mention here that the first version of the cascading style sheets became available in 1996, and the second one in 1998. I think it's a how to say, when I was born, and now all of the how to say, modern web browsers use the CSS3 version as the main styling language for our web pages. So what kind of features does the CSS3 have? So firstly, there were introduced the media queries. Media queries helps us by writing some kind of code for any kind of devices, and our web page will become responsive and adaptive for different kind of resolutions and different kind of size of the displays and the monitors. And then also there is the selectors. We shouldn't talk. We will not talk about the namespaces, but we can talk about the selectors level 3. In order to understand this, we should, how to say, go through the pseudo elements, and I think in the next chapters you will have more information about the level 3 selectors. So the last one that I should mention here is the colors. As you have seen that I'm using only the ordinary name for the colors, like black, red, green, yellow, but also there is, as you can, how to say, Google, there is another kind of colors like RGBA, HSLA, and in our web browsers, when we are defining, we can mainly how to say, define our color mainly in 3 types. Firstly is by name, the second is in hexadecimal format, and the third is RGB or RGBA, and the last one is HSLA. All of them will become available in CSS3. So the next thing is the media queries. What is that? As I have mentioned here, that by defining the max width and the min width for our styles, we can make our web page more available and responsive for any kind of devices and any kind of resolutions. So we can, I think I will be able to show you some kind of example. What do I mean by media, by responsiveness and media queries? For example, where is my Visual Studio Code? Here. I will, how to say, delete all of the examples and create another box element here, and we'll give some kind of styles to our box element. Our width will be 100%, height 300 pixels, and also the background color, my favorite, red. So we can see that all of the things are working properly. And the next thing, that when we'll squeeze and change the size of our, how to say, browser, it should change its color and the height, for example. By using the magic queries, we can reach that result. Of course, we can go with an example in the slide. So first thing that should mention here is that it's only for screens. The keyword screen are used for screens, because you can write magic queries and the change style of our HTML elements for different kind of results. For example, here is only screen, but if you press, for example, Command or Control P on your web page, it opens the window with the printing features, and for this reason and for this case, you can also change your page styles with the magic queries. But we will not go with the print. We can only use the screen elements in order to see the real results. Screen and also is the keyword, and we can write the max width equal to, for example, 800 pixels. After that, we can add this box style and change the background color of this element to yellow. So when we if we open our page, it still remains the red, because our page and the browser width is bigger than the 800 pixels. But we can open the developer tools, or we can squeeze our web browser and see the results. For example, here you can see the width of our web page. If we write, for example, 900 pixels, it will become red. And by changing the style, changing the width, we can change the style also. 801, 800. When it become 800, our style have changed. You can see this result by squeezing also here, and we can change any type, any kind of property by writing all of the things in the major queries. For example, it was the height 300, but with major queries we can change the height of the element. So here it is. By using this kind of major queries, you can reach the responsiveness for your website easily. And also here I should mention one thing. If you are developing some kind of website, firstly for the web browser for computers, you should write with you should define your major queries with max width, because oh my god, because first things that you should write will go to the ordinary size, and the next ones that you write will go to the another smaller devices. But if you write the min width here, your element will become yellow and the height with 200 pixels, but when it's less than 800 pixels, it will become red. So the second case with the min width, it's called mobile first development, because you firstly develop for the how to say, mobile devices, and the next for the ordinary laptops and the bigger screens. So it was about the media queries. I think we should continue with the new features of CSS3. So I think the most interesting part has come, because we can talk about some little animations here, and also we can see what kind of new features they were developed in CSS3. So first thing is the transitions. Transitions will help you to change the state of the element, change the property of element smoothly. For example, I think it will work in this example. So as you can see, when we are changing our style, it has changed very fast and not smoothly. But if we write all of the things with the transition, you should learn about the transition yourselves, but I will show the example. All is, and we will give it 1 second to change. I think it will work. No, it didn't work. I think with the media queries it will not work, but we can do another thing. We can add the hover for our element. Firstly, we will, as you can see, it changed very fast, but with the help of the transitions, you can change it very smoothly. Oh my God. I think I have placed it on the wrong. Thank you. Who it was? Oh, yes. It changed very smoothly during the 1 second. By this kind of transitions, you can make little animations very smooth and in a time that you give. And the next thing is the flex boxes. In the next lesson, we will talk about the flex boxes. This lesson also will be mine, and it's one of the best features of CSS3, because with the help of the flex boxes, you can reach the responsiveness for your website very easy and fast, and also position elements as you want. Of course, there is the better solution as grids, but flex boxes are my favorite. So also there was introduced the opacity, for example, opacity for the elements. If you you can give opacity for any kind of elements. If I'm not mistaken, it's written with a percentage. So as you can see, our element became more shuffle, or how it's called in English. So we can change it to the red, and you can see the result here, how our opacity changes. In second case, in hover, first one is red. When we hover our element, our opacity changes to 50%. It also was introduced on the CSS3, and here's the box shadows. What's the box shadow? Shadow, you know the what does it mean. Also, it almost works same in the real lives in real life. For example, here you can see our element, but we can drop some kind of shadow by box shadow. Firstly, we can add the how to say vertical alignment 10 pixels, not the vertical but the horizontal alignment, and the next one is the vertical alignment, and the next one was about the spread 20 pixels, and the last one was about the blurriness of our shadow. So I think it's visible to you that with the help of shadow we can do any kind of wow tricks here, and we can do like this 0 and 0. Here our shadow and the element looks more beautiful with the help of the shadows. Also, there was introduced custom fonts. I think we will not have time to learn about the fonts. There is some kind of font types that you can import to straight to your CSS files, like WOF and TTF. It means true type fonts, web open fonts like this. You can import the web fonts from Google Fonts, and you can use all of these fonts on your web page, and also make the beautiful design easily, because it was introduced because there is only some kind of similar default fonts in all of the browsers. For example, defaultly macOS uses how to say Calibri font for any kind of website if it doesn't have the custom web fonts. So we will have talked about the media queries. You will learn about the level 3 selectors later, and the next thing is the filters. What does filters mean? For example, if we import some kind of image to our website, we can change its properties by only the CSS elements. For example, last time we had a Toyota Supra. This time we will have the Nissan, how to say, Skyline R34. As you have understand, maybe I love Japanese cars. So we can import our image and to our page and continue with that. Here you can see our element, and with the help of filters, you can change its properties easily. Firstly, we should have ordinary box, and the next one in hover we can change the filter with the help of this filter property. For example, 10 pixels. As you can see, it's more how to say, you can see everything in the detailed picture, but when you hover our image with the help of the filter, you can see that our image become more blurry. It's one of the properties of the filter property, and the next thing we can change its, for example, hue, rotate, change the color for 90 degrees. If I'm not mistaken, it's written like this. as you can see, it changed its colors. It was orange and it became green. If we, how to say, remove the blur, we can see the best picture of it. It's cool, right? So also, if you have ever used the old photo cameras, and here is the inversion of the color. In that cameras, there was some kind of negatives, and in negatives, there were inverted colors when you take a picture. When you take a picture, it was like this, and after you have printed the picture, it will it can become like this. In old photographs, there was negatives like this. With the help of this invert filter, we can reach that effect easily. So also we should continue with another things. Vendor prefixes, what does it mean? As I have mentioned that all of the new features are introduced later after 2010, but not all of the how to say browsers support this kind of new new elements. So because of that reason, there was introduced also the prefixes for the CSS3 features. What does it mean? All of the different browsers read the different style, read the styles differently, and in order to our code will work in different kind of browsers, we should use prefixes by defining what kind of browser will will use this style. For example, in how to say for Apple Safari and our Chrome browser, mostly use the WebKit prefixes, and most prefixes for Mozilla Firefox, and for Opera you can use the O prefix in order to our code work. But it's a how to say waste of time to learn all of the prefixes and what kind of elements needs prefixes easily. We can on internet find the CSS prefixer, and with this kind of after prefixes, we can use, for example, our styles. If I'm not mistaken, filter will have the prefixes. As you can see, this one is the only read by the browsers that are more universal, but with the help of the prefixes, our styles will work on Safari, on Opera, and on how to say on Mozilla Firefox also, because we have used some kind of prefixes here, and they will work without any kind of problem here. So I think we can continue, and the next thing is the border radius. If you have paid attention that in the example with the from the Figma, I have used some kind of border radius here. So how I reach that result, and we can use that border radius for our example also. If you give, for example, 50 pixels, our edges not. I think I know what I have done. I think I should write box image and then give the border radius. As you can see that our edges become more smooth and there's a border radius. With the help of the developer tools, we can see how it changes. The bigger you give the value, the more smooth it will become. But if you write only 0, it will become sharp with the sharp edges on all of the sides. So as I have wrote in margin padding and border radius, we can use different kind of border radius for different edges, 0, 50, 0, 50 pixels. As you can see here, that the left bottom and the right top edges of our image will become smooth, but in other edges, the other edges still remains the sharp. So with the help of the border radius, you can reach that smooth effect and change the edges of elements. And also, for example, if we change the height, for example, 100 pixels with 100 pixels, you can see that our car image became the circle one. So without any kind of problem, you can make and reach that result. And the next thing, border image, you can put some kind of images to the border. So here's an example. I will not show you from my example. So you can add and attach some kind of any kind of images to your border, but it was more in old styles to use
There's problem of connection, I think. If you can hear my voice.
Let's wait to him at least 2 minutes and then he will rejoin, I think.
Guys, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Sorry, it was a problem with an internet connection. So they were introducing the last alpha channel, and with the help of this alpha channel, we can, how to say, make our block with an opacity. As you can see, that here is the result. Our red color become with an opacity of 50%, and still it works, and it helps with the, how to say, more complex designs. So RGBA colors. Here you can see the examples that with a different kind of opacities. Here that all of them are red because first channel has the same result, but the opacities are different. In last example, it's 800, not 880, 80%, 60%, 40%, and 20% of opacity appears here in RGBA representation. And as you can see that the first is the red and the second green, third is the blue, and the last one is the alpha channel. So I think it's enough for colors, but here you can see the gradients. What does gradient mean? When the one color smoothly goes to another color, there appears the gradient. For example, if we give background color for our website, for example, aquamarine, it will become the aquamarine color. But we do not if we do not want our website to be only in one color, we can use the how to say, liner gradient or the radial gradient. For example, we can write two colors here, aquamarine and red, if I'm not mistaken. Here, where I can take, I left the semicolon, not the semicolon, but the whole liner gradient thing. Background, aquamarine, and red. As you can see, here is the result of our liner gradient. But with the help of another values of its property, we can make our design and the colors more cooler. And from aquamarine, it goes to the red one, and we can also give the percentage of our color. For example, 30% of our web page will become aquamarine, and another percent will go to the red. So we can, how to say, play around this with it. As you can see that we can change the results of this background with different kind of percentages. So there is also not only liner but the radial gradient. Radial. Ouch. Not the, I think it was the different circle. So at center. Yes, as you can see that the results has changed. The from left and the right side, it's a red one, and in center, it's aquamarine. It changed a background color of our site radially, and you can see the results. And we can continue with that. Here's an example of another cool gradient backgrounds. And one thing that you should remember that here is that linear gradients do not work with the background color property. If you want to use linear gradient, you should only use the background property here. If you change to background color, it will not work. I mean the linear gradients. So you can use any kind of color in any kind of amount, and also you can create the repeating gradients without any kind of problem, and you can reach the some kind of cool results here. So we talked about the shadows. I think we should talk about the transform. Transform is another cool CSS3 and CSS2 properties that can help us to animate our, for example, buttons. Button, we can create click me. With the help of this transformation, we can reach the cool hover effect. For example, we will have the height, not the height, maybe we will go with the padding, 40 to 80 pixels, and background color, let it be blue, and the color white, and the font size 30 pixels. As you can see, here is my button. With the help of this transform, rotate, for example, rotate 90 degrees transition, all is 1 second. When we hover, it will rotate, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, with the help of this CSS3 and the CSS2 transforms, you can reach some kind of cool results. For example, you can rotate, you can scale, you can rotate, you can scale it here, for example, like this. As you can see, that's very easy one. So also you can also rotate is rotate in how to say insert axes, and you can skew it, and like this. Here is an example how with the skew you can reach the 3D effect. So like this, I think we should talk about a little bit about CSS3 transitions here. And as you can see that I have used the transition here, and the first thing that what you want to, when you are giving the value for transition, the first thing that you should mention here is to what element you are giving the transition. We mentioned here that all elements should have the transition, and the next one, what kind of effect should it have? For in first case, it's easy, and it can be is in or is out, and is in out. By defining this value, you can say that in what kind of timeline your animation will work. Cubicbaser.com.
Again, internet connection problem.
Can you hear me, guys?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
The internet connection problem. Sorry.
Yes.
There's a problem with electricity and the internet. So I'm sorry. So with the cubic Bezier effect, for example, you can change the timeline of your animation like this. As you can see that it firstly it how to say go fast and then it changes its speed. So we can oh my god, sorry guys, that's what it was sharing. So can you see now? I think yes. With the cubic Bezier or is liner is out, as you can see you can reach the some kind of different results. And from this side you can take this value is in out and the cubic Bezier, and you can play around yourself with some kind of animations. And the less as I said and mentioned, the first one is to what elements transition is implemented, and the second one is the timeline method, and the last one in that it's how long our animation will continue. In our case, it's 1 second, and you can how to say play around yourselves. As you are seeing that here is an examples that the is, liner, is in, is out, and cubic Bezier. And also you can delay animations, and I think it's the last thing is keyframes. With the help of the keyframes, you can set the elements the initial position and the last position, and create some kind of cool examples. I didn't work it with the keyframes. I do not have a big experience with the keyframes, and I think I cannot explain the CSS animations as cool as I want now, and I think you will better understand if you watch some kind of better videos on YouTube here. So I think that's it for our lecture here, and if you have any kind of questions, you can ask me here, or you can ask me later on how to say Telegram channel or in Discord. I will be available until the how to say in your time till 1 AM. So thank you for your attention, and I'm sorry for making lessons in such a early time because I had some job. So does anyone have questions? Guys, can you hear me?
No, I think no questions.
No questions. In that case, thank you too for being patient and listening me, and see you in the next lessons. Goodbye.
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 Nice day.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. Can we stop the recording here?